So my name is Keenan, and this is my journey in China. So the first stop was Beijing. We flew into Beijing, and Beijing is an amazing city because it's so ancient, but also has the trappings of some modern cities mixed in as well. There's ancient historical landmarks of feats of architecture like the Great Wall, which is actually filled with sticky rice, and the bodies of the workers who worked on it, which is really interesting. And there's also a lot of ancient temples, retreats for emperors, like the Forbidden Palace that you and the Summer Palace that you see here, which is really interesting and really cool places to visit. Next, we took a bullet train down to Nantong. The bullet train travels over 200 kilometers an hour, and it's really amazing what a architectural infrastructure there that is so advanced compared to the rural poverty in a lot of areas. So Nantong will be our home base for the next several months while we taught English, and Nantong is a small city for China, but it still has 8 million people. This picture shows a lot of the ancient Chinese kanji, which are actually shared with a lot of Japan and Korea. And then as China was introduced to Western cultures, they developed a more phonetic language that Westerners could read, so kids in school learn both the kanji language as well as the newer phonetic language as they grow up. There's a week in China called Golden Week where everyone in China travels. Over 400 million people traveled last year. It's really crazy. So we went to Chengdu for our first stop. And Chengdu is famous for their food and their music as well as their religion. So it's famous for hot pot, which you see a picture of here. I almost burned my mouth off eating this. The Chinese emperors actually imported chili peppers from South America once those were discovered, because hot food makes you have to eat more rice and drink more water, and you don't have to eat as much other food. So it actually saved money and prevented some food shortages. It's really crazy hot though. Then we went out to the Leshan Mountains near Chengdu and saw this Leshan giant Buddha, as well as the pandas that are famous in the region. A lot of the Buddhist temples and monasteries were partially destroyed, and the Buddhist statues had their heads cut off during the Communist Revolution, which is really interesting. And also most of the monasteries and temples of Buddhism share Taoism, which is like the yin-yang, because those are the two primary religions of native Chinese people. In Chengdu as well, there was an opera show, which is not really an opera, but we got to see performances from a lot of ancient Chinese traditions and music, and the overlay music of this video will be like the music we heard in Chengdu. Next up was Xi'an. Xi'an is famous for the terracotta soldiers, which you see on the left, but also for being the home of the oldest Muslim temple in China, which you see on the right. Islam in China is actually famous for being from Western China and for their noodles. Muslim people in China are famous for making noodles in every small city. Every city has a Muslim noodle shop, which is really fun and interesting. Next, we flew down to Guilin. Guilin is famous for their natural landscapes. This one on the left is their famous Li River, and on the right is the Yellow Reed Flute Cave. Really beautiful landscapes, and it's kind of a perfect symbol of half of the Chinese economy, which is based on extracting resources and using those resources and natural landscapes for profit. This town is based entirely on tourism. The other half of the Chinese economy is perfectly shown by Shanghai, which is the last stop on my journey before I head home. Shanghai is the perfect symbol of the other half of the Chinese economy, which is a super modern business that's outpacing the rest of China. Shanghai is home to a lot of foreign businesses, super advanced infrastructure and subway systems, and really high incomes. The building on the right is the second tallest in the entire world even, which is another symbol of China and its impressive modernity. So that's the end of my journey in China, and the map pictures were from Google Earth, and all photos were taken by me.